Okay, let me introduce you to my little setup that I've got in my living room. So why did I set it up in my living room? Why did I feel the need that I wanted to sort of work in here? Well, I've been working in studios, in a studio. I've always had a studio, either outside of the house, in the house. And but what I find is that I was getting very uncomfortable sitting in that studio. They're often without windows. Air conditioning's not very good, but the worst thing for me was sitting on the same chair for extended periods of time. I was starting to get backache, my knees were starting to ache, it just hurt. And because you have to sort of sit in a very specific spot to get the sound, you've got a sweet spot, haven't you, between the speakers. So you've got your speakers set up at either side of you like that, and you've got to sit in this very specific spot, upright, at the right angle, to get the sound that you're looking for. And that became uncomfortable. Okay, so it got to a point where it was actually unbearable for me. And I was finding myself going to the osteopath, going to the doctor, trying different chairs, all sorts of things, exercising, making sure that I was, getting up and walking around, exercising as much as possible, and nothing worked. It was just simply sitting in that same spot. They say, don't they, that it's akin to smoking cigarettes. It's worse for your health sitting for long periods of time. I even did things like the Alexander technique, which is where you learn to use the correct posture for every position that you sit in. Like even sitting on the sofa, you have to learn to sit correctly so you're always sort of postured right and your spine's curving. I even went through that, but nothing really worked. So I found that I could only really sit in a studio for sort of a couple of hours at a time before I started to hurt. Now, bear in mind, I have been doing this for a very long time. So I'm not saying that you all suffer with this. You might all be okay. But if you want to think about me, think about yourselves as a preventative measure. It might be something that you want to do now. Even you might be young and experienced, not been sat there for very long. And you're not hurting at the moment, but trust me, it'll get to that point. So I decided that I wanted to sort of move around, have a portable setup, so to speak. Okay, now this is my portable setup. It doesn't look very portable, but trust me, I can get all of this into a large laptop bag, which I can carry around with me. I can take this whole setup with me wherever I want to go. I can take it on holiday. I can take it to another studio. It comes with me. It all looks very big, but it all folds down. Cool. So let's start with what we've actually got. Well, we've got my Mac laptop here. This is a 16-inch laptop. So the screen's fairly big. It's quite comfortable to look at. Okay. You'll note on the back of here as well that I've got this hard drive, which is actually attached to the computer as well. So that comes with me, which means that I don't have to have everything stored on my internal drive. As you know, MacBooks are very expensive for the internal storage. And then I've got the USB wall wart thing here, which is where I can plug my USBs in, iLocks, etc., anything there where you need a USB-A device and a USB-C. I've even got a port there for another monitor. So these are essential, really. I've even got another little slot there for another hard drive at the top, which is great. And then we've got here another little portable monitor. Now this, of course, isn't essential. This is a 16-inch portable monitor. I don't know if you can see that on the screen, right? Very cheap. It cost me like £100 or something. Technology has got crazily cheap these days. So, and it's a really good quality screen. It's an Amazon special, of course. And again, it just packs up, folds flat. You can put it in your laptop. Awesome. I've got that attaches to there. That comes up as a second monitor. So if I'm doing any video editing, these kind of videos, great, you can use that. Also, I can have my second screen if I'm working on Ableton there. I can have my mixer screen there, or I can have some like meters set up on that, span plugins, metering plugins. They can be permanently sat there while I work here. Okay, now these little sort of riser things here, these again, cheap things from Amazon, 20 quid or something they cost, $20. And these just sort of fold away, fold in half, pack away, slot into a bag. Awesome. This one's a little big, but then if all else fails, I just use this other one here. This one's great. So those things are really, really handy, because what you want to do is you want to raise your laptop. You don't want to be sat looking down like that. That is the worst thing you can do, because trust me, after many years of doing that, you're going to start to stoop, and your postures are going to start to really suffer. So you need to be looking at eye level. My glasses are interesting because I have to like look up through the top bit to be able to see. So it keeps my head up. So I can work here like that. I have a mouse I would usually put at the side of me there like that, but I can put it on the desk as well, on this top bit. Okay, so that's my setup. Now you'll note that I haven't got any speakers in here. Of course, I've got my stereo, which I could hook up to, the living room stereo, but that defeats the object. What I want to do is use headphones. And the headphones that I've got here are these. These are the Focal Batiste headphones. And they are like a consumer headphone. What do you mean by consumer headphone? They're not reference grade, they're not professional, although they are reasonably expensive. These are wireless headphones. And what's beautiful about these particular headphones is that they're wireless. They're great quality. They've got LDAC, they've got adaptive Bluetooth, so they're really good quality. But what they also do is they allow you to do a hearing test, okay? And then it adapts the speakers or the EQ to your hearing profile, which is essential. And we will talk about this a little bit more later, but it adapts this headphone and then it saves that profile into the headphone, okay? So once you've got your hearing test done, you can dial it in exactly as you want. You can get the headphones to sound like you want, right? You know, not too bright, not too dark, whatever. If you need a bit more, you can add a bit more. And then it saves it on the headphone. That makes these essential because you need to EQ your headphones. You don't want flat headphones because everybody has a different type of hearing loss or hearing profile. You don't want anything to be flat. You want your headphones to sort of adapt to how you like to listen to them, okay? So that these allow you. They've also got like a 10-band EQ on these as well, which you can adapt. And once you've done with the app, bang, they get stored in the headphone. So you don't need the app. So it means you can connect these via Bluetooth to any device, right? And you will have your hearing EQ profile stored within the headphone. These are awesome. Now, what is also really good about these, you'll note that these have got a cable here. This is a USB cable. These have got a DAC built into them. So you can use them in wired DAC mode, which bypasses Bluetooth. As you know, Bluetooth has a latency, so you can't actually work in real time with Bluetooth. So you have to use the DAC mode, so it bypasses the latency. And you can work in real time. Also, the DAC in this is really, really good. So these, for me, are my headphone of choice for working, mixing, producing while I'm here. Now, another thing I want to talk about as well is that I've actually started using the MacBook laptop speakers. I know, to produce on. I know I can hear you all saying, well, how can you do that? And there's a number of reasons why. One, it removes the bass. It takes the bass out of the equation, so you're not seduced by the bottom end. Okay. Two, there's not so much volume. It's not loud, so you're not seduced by volume. Okay. So what you're doing is you're concentrating on the mid-range. Okay. So it means that you mix the bass so you can hear the bass on these small speakers. Right? You're not working at ridiculously loud volumes so everything sounds amazing. You're keeping the volumes at a conservative level. Three, you're concentrating on the mid-range of the music, so you're actually able to balance everything perfectly. You can get the vocals just right, you can get the bass so you can hear it on the speakers, all of the top end, everything, and it's surprisingly good. I did as an experiment, a full mix without using any headphones, just on this. And you know what? I didn't have to tweak it very much at all. I just had to manipulate the bass a little bit on speakers, but it sounded great. So I've started to work now using headphones for critical listening, for the sort of end bit, but generally I'm working on the laptop speakers. I know. I was so surprised. And I actually had to sort of do a bit of research into why it works, because I felt like this isn't right. you shouldn't be able to do this. I shouldn't be able to sit on a laptop and just use the speakers here and it sound this good. So I had to figure that out, why. And there's a number of reasons. And it turns out that a lot of people actually do the same thing. There's a few famous producers I know who are producing just using their laptops, or at least in part, you know? And again, it all comes down to being able to work in an environment where you're not having to be sat in one spot all the time, tied to the same position in the same speakers. It gives you the freedom to be able to move around, to be able to be mobile, to work in a hotel room if you want to work in your living room, to work wherever you please. And, you know, it just takes you out of the sort of environment where you're trapped. You're no longer a slave to having to work in a studio. And this, for me, has revolutionized how I work. And now I'm not hurting anymore. My legs are fine. I can sit here for quite some time. Of course, you've got to get up every now and then. You know, every 20 minutes or so, I'd suggest that you get up and walk around. But I can sit here all day without any pain. I've got the window there. I can look outside. You know, I've got everything that I need in this, you know, sort of living room space, and it's comfortable and nice, and it's a change. And it means that when I do go back into the studio, I'm actually enjoying my studio days, because I'm like, oh, this is nice. I'm changing the environment up. I'm giving it a bit of variation. I'm not staying in one place and getting cabin fever all the time. So hopefully this has given you some inspiration in regards to how you can have a little mobile setup. Very, very, very cool. All right.